In today's clip, I'm going to talk about how and why I'm most likely never going to directly criticize the CCP or the Chinese Communist Party. Okay. Ayo. Zempak here. So this is a rather sensitive topic, as I've seen many YouTubers that likes to travel, address the ruling party of China, and get into kind of philosophical or political quagmires about how to talk about China and how it relates to the people that are in charge and the people being, overseen over there, right? The party in charge is the CCP, okay? So I know my channel is small, but I want to make it clear right now that there are a whole bunch of very selfish reasons of my own that would pretty much preclude me from ever criticizing this political behemoth of an organization, okay? I'll just cut to the chase right now, right? Here we go. A bunch of reasons, not really in any order once again. First of all, let's be straight. The CCP's done just fine in making the country of China great again. Okay, I can't argue with that. I don't know how anyone possibly could make the claim, right? So I get it. I also understand that no one could probably say that every single one of the decisions was right on the spot, okay? But the overall trend looks pretty clear, right? What, 40 years ago, the country was dirt poor, and now it's not. Results, in my line of work anyway, is all that matters, right? In my point of view, there's not a government on the planet Earth or in the entirety of human history that's not without fault, right? So before people start throwing in my face, oh, the Chinese government mowed down student protesters 20 years ago or whatever, okay, the US government shot at its own veterans at a DC protest after World War I, by the way. Not that long ago. Look it up. My point is, don't throw stones unless you're perfect, and nobody's perfect, okay? Everybody's got growing pains. And I'm pretty sure there's a reason why the CCP had good ground level support, right? Because most people who live in the country enjoy seeing living standards rise within a single generation and actually being seen as rich by the rest of the world again. You know how weird that is? When I watch Western news and all of a sudden people are like, oh, are all Chinese people rich? Oh my God, what a night and day comparison to even when I came to this country like a couple of decades ago, okay? Reason number two. Well, this one has to do with PR, and I think the CCP should probably just change its name because the regime it's heading up is basically nowhere near actually communist, right? Again, if you know anything about China, I don't know anybody who could actually argue with me on that one. I've had to explain this particular type of peculiarity to many Americans already, okay? I get it. They call themselves the Communist Party, so they must be communist, right? And the country they rule, therefore, must be communist. Well, the thing is, the entire rise of China has been predicated on market economics. Has been for 40 years now, okay? So not much of the means of production at this point is actually owned by the government anymore. Capitalism as an economic model has been alive and well since like the 80s. So if you're an American and you simply hate communism, you can probably get over that, right? My personal suggestion is just change the name to the Chinese Capable Party, okay? Because you can argue with their methods, but the regime is very effective overall, okay, at whatever it wants to do, okay? Now, so if you object to the Communist Party because it's a single-party dictatorship, that's a different argument entirely, right? Legitimate, but not based on the economic model, right? This actually transitions well into my next point. Reason number three. It's especially hard for me personally to criticize any political party anywhere in the world because, well, I'm not that political, probably because I'm a cynic, right? Look, I consider myself an American, and more importantly, a New Yorker, right? We are ultra-capitalist and independent in the city of New York, right? And yet, very recently, we've elected to the presidency of the greatest democracy in the world a complete douche and moron and grifter in the form of, you guessed it, a native-born New Yorker, aka the Orange Douche. So who am I to judge any other way of government or circumstance when clearly it's not the system that makes terrible decisions, but people themselves, right? We Americans have complete freedom to choose, and yet still we choose poorly sometimes, right? So what moral high ground am I standing on to judge other nations by, okay? No, I'm not going to do it. I simply choose to abstain, right? Now, reason number 4. What made me think of this question recently? It's really because I'm tired of non-Chinese people who somehow think that because they've lived in China as expats for a few years and they've dated a few Chinese ladies, they certainly understand what Chinese people actually want. And how a simple separation between the state and its constituents actually work, right? Here I'm referring to the South African bloke who comes across as incredibly condescending to me. His name is like Serpenza or whatever, and he has a few idiotic, you know, American or Australian friends that does the same kind of crap, right? All his shit is just clickbait bullcrap because he thinks he could show a few shots of him drinking beer with the locals. That means he's a man of the people, okay? To me, as from an American perspective, that's literally the same type of reasoning as, oh, I'm not a racist because I have a black friend. Get the fuck out of here, you stupid piece of shit, okay? Now, I'm not saying that his experience isn't his own truth, right? What I am saying here is that it takes more than living as an expat to really understand a culture, even 10 years later, okay? Compared to those douches, I, who am always just judged to be Chinese despite feeling like an American, I can tell you for sure, okay? I can still out-Chinese those nincompoops any day. So please, I don't want to hear about how they're just criticizing the government because, you know, they can't stay in China or can't buy homes in China as a foreigner. Please just leave, okay? China does not want you anyway. Not every country is meant to be a country of immigrants. And don't kid yourself about how bad a government is when the state that made it possible for you to make a living over there is a direct result of said governance, right? You can't separate those things. Reason number 5. Finally and most selfishly, it really just boils down to it. I want to be able to visit the country, okay? I love the culture and the food, especially. And I like to actually be able to visit occasionally and see my extended family, right? I'm sorry, this is a terribly selfish reason, but I've never cared to fight for an entire arbitrary group of like, oh, say all of Chinese people. That is absurd. There's like 1.5 billion Chinese people. I would only fight for my family, okay? Realize that's selfish, but yeah, most people can't even do that much. So there. I'm just some random dude. I've never sought to change the world in any way. And most people that I've ever met who has talked about changing the world are a bunch of liars / tech entrepreneurs. Mostly liars, okay? I just want to tend to my own garden in a Voltaire type of way, okay? Or maybe I'm just a conservative because I believe in incremental change over time, right? Because I want China to succeed and it's currently on a good trajectory. Why would I want to rock the boat? Right? When I see so many other developing nations who are doing much, much poorly, even in this day and age, right? So it's not a given just because you used to be poor and your manufacturing cost is low. That's not a recipe for success, right? Plenty of examples all around the world that does terribly. China's doing well, I go by results, right? Of course, at the end of the day, I just want to take care of what's mine, right? And here's the thing, here's the caveat. I reserve judgment to change my mind. Because I don't live in China. I live in the good old USA, a country that I love much, much more, okay? Because here, I have the freedom to change my mind whenever I wish. So yeah, this isn't a love letter to China, but it's not a troll comment either, right? Just remember, I wouldn't make it an aim to piss off any government, to be honest, right? Because they're all relatively much more powerful than just a schmuck like me, right? It'd take me a lifetime just to go and try all the delicious food on that side of the world. And if I'm choosing gluttony over the extremely thorny attitude towards judging other countries' domestic and foreign policies, yep, that's what I'm going to do. Anywho, feel free to tell me how I'm wrong, as the internet always will. But also, comment, like, subscribe, and share, or whatever. Cheers.